I mean, how do you pray for somebody who you feel has really, really harmed you?
At 71, Oprah Winfrey stunned fans with a rare revelation: the 5 artists she couldn't stand. And these aren't just any names, they're some of the biggest stars in the world. From rap legends like 50 Cent, who she once said represents everything that's wrong with young black men in America, to literary stars like James Frey, whom she accused of betraying millions of readers and me personally, Oprah didn't hold back. She called out David Letterman, saying, "He embarrassed me on national television and made me feel small." And she even admitted to deep resentment toward MoNique, declaring, "She crossed a line no one ever should." But what led Oprah, a symbol of grace and reconciliation, to such strong words? And how did these feuds play out behind the scenes? Stay tuned as we reveal Oprah's 5 most shocking celebrity feuds. Number 1. 50 Cent. The tension between Oprah Winfrey and 50 Cent began not with a dramatic on-air clash, but with quiet rejection. In the early 2000s, 50 Cent exploded onto the music scene with Get Rich or Die Tryin', his legendary debut album that sold over 12 million copies and became 9 times platinum. He was unstoppable, dominating the charts and reshaping the sound of mainstream hip-hop. But despite his monumental success, there was one platform he couldn't break into: the Oprah Winfrey Show. For 50, the absence stung, because it wasn't about fame or validation from his peers. It was about his grandmother. As he revealed in his 2020 book, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter, 50 Cent deeply wanted to appear on Oprah's show to make his grandmother proud. She adored Oprah, like millions of viewers, and 50 envisioned the day he could sit across from the beloved host, showing his family he had truly made it. But Oprah made no secret of her distaste for his music. In interviews and public statements, she criticized rap lyrics that glorified gun violence, demeaned women, or promoted criminal lifestyles, hallmarks of 50's raw autobiographical style. "She was completely against everything that was in my music," 50 later explained in an interview with The Guardian. "So she ain't never going to have me on that show. I'm never going to reach that platform, which is confirmation of you being a huge success. So I just said, okay, if we can't be friends, then at least let's be enemies." Instead of staying silent, 50 Cent chose to provoke Oprah. He publicly dismissed her audience as old and white, and even went so far as to name his pet dog, a small female schnauzer, Oprah. To 50, it was part of his strategy to stir the pot, to claim power where he felt shut out. As he admitted, "I was just developing negative feelings for someone who doesn't even know me." The feud simmered in the public eye, with 50 throwing barbs in interviews and on social media. He accused Oprah of turning her back on black culture and black men in hip-hop, arguing that she catered to a more conservative, middle-class audience that looked down on artists like himself. His lyrics, often branded as misogynistic or violent, became a focal point of this cultural clash between the streets and the studio lights of daytime television. Oprah, for her part, didn't directly engage with 50's provocations at the time, but years later, in a surprising twist, she invited him for an interview on her show, Oprah's Next Chapter. Their meeting was one of curiosity, tension, and ultimately humor. One of the most memorable moments came when Oprah brought up the dog. "I heard you have a dog named Oprah," she said. 50 Cent, caught between sheepishness and bravado, grinned and confirmed it was true. Oprah chose to diffuse the tension with laughter. "I consider that to be a compliment, whether you meant it to be one or not," she said. But Oprah didn't let the moment pass without digging deeper. She asked bluntly, "Why'd you name your dog Oprah?" 50 Cent's response was candid and reflective. "At the time, I was just looking at the situation, and I'd say I was just developing negative feelings for someone who doesn't even know me," he admitted. Despite the warmth of their meeting, tensions flared again years later. In 2019, 50 Cent criticized Oprah for what he perceived as targeting black men like Russell Simmons in the #MeToo movement, while being softer on white men accused of similar misconduct. On social media, he expressed his disappointment, suggesting that Oprah's approach reflected a bias he couldn't ignore. When asked about the violent or misogynistic content of his lyrics, he defended his right to tell his story, his way. "They are misogynistic, but the world is not under the same circumstances," he said. "Are you going to tell a painter what to paint? I'm an artist. Why am I limited to what you feel should be said?" Even today, these two still cannot be friends. Number 2. David Letterman. The seeds of Oprah Winfrey and David Letterman's tension were sown in 1989 when Oprah appeared as a guest on The Late Show with David Letterman. What should have been a routine late-night appearance turned into an uncomfortable ordeal that left Oprah vowing never to return. The timing couldn't have been worse. The night before, Oprah had hosted a controversial episode of her own show about devil worship, a topic that drew public outrage due to the sensational and, at times, bizarre claims made by her guests. The fallout followed her to Letterman's stage. That night, the Late Show audience wasn't just rowdy, they were hostile. Some members heckled her openly, fueled by tabloid frenzy and the previous night's episode. At one point, someone in the crowd even called out, "Rip her, Dave," urging Letterman to mock or challenge Oprah. For Oprah, it was a nightmare. She later recalled feeling as though the audience was a bunch of drunk guys down the front, and that Letterman was baiting the audience. She felt ambushed and disrespected, and that discomfort stayed with her for years. Letterman, reflecting on the moment years later, admitted that he was inexperienced and didn't handle the situation well. "I think she resented the fact that I didn't rise to the occasion and, beat up on the guy," he confessed. "Which I probably should have, but I was completely out of control and didn't know what I was doing." But rather than quietly let the incident fade, Letterman made things worse. Over the years, he turned their rift into material for his monologues. He'd crack jokes about Oprah, exaggerate how much she disliked him, and even poke fun at her businesses. In one instance, he joked that he'd gotten food poisoning from clams served at her Chicago restaurant, The Eccentric. Then came the infamous 1995 Academy Awards, where Letterman hosted and delivered one of his most awkward and mocked bits. "Oprah, Uma, Uma, Oprah," he repeated while introducing Oprah Winfrey and Uma Thurman, as if the novelty of their names was enough to carry the joke. He then added, "Have you kids met Keanu?" The moment was panned by critics and became a symbol of Letterman's strained attempts to be edgy at the Oscars, and again dragged Oprah into the spotlight in a way she didn't appreciate. Yet according to Letterman, the real origin of Oprah's dislike came from a different, lesser-known incident. During an appearance on The Daily Show in 2010, he revealed to Jon Stewart that years earlier, during a vacation, he and his then-girlfriend Regina saw Oprah and Stedman Graham at a restaurant. As a prank, Letterman arranged for Oprah to pay his bill. "I said to Regina, 'Oh, this is hilarious. I'm going to make Oprah buy us lunch,'" he recounted. He told the waiter, "Oh, this woman right over there has been kind enough to take care of our check." As they left, he and Regina waved cheerfully to Oprah. "We got a free lunch, and that's where it started," Letterman laughed. The combination of that cheeky restaurant stunt, the uncomfortable Late Show appearance, and years of jokes from Letterman created a rift that lasted nearly 2 decades. Oprah refused to appear on his show, and while she didn't publicly fan the flames, the silence spoke volumes. Letterman, meanwhile, continued to milk the supposed feud for laughs, creating a narrative of tension that kept audiences curious. But as time went on, even he seemed to recognize that the situation had gotten out of hand. In 2005, after 16 years, Oprah returned to The Late Show in what was hyped as a monumental reconciliation. During the interview, Oprah cut straight to the point. "Could you tell me, please, what has transpired?" she asked, with her signature mix of grace and directness. "I have never for a moment had a feud with you. I want you to know it's really over, whatever you thought was happening." Their reconciliation didn't stop at just one TV appearance. In 2013, Letterman appeared on Oprah's own series, Oprah's Next Chapter. It was during this more intimate conversation that Oprah finally explained in detail why she had found the Late Show appearance so painful. "It was a terrible experience for me," she told Letterman. "The guy in the audience started yelling, 'Get her, Dave!' I was trying to, mitigate the whole thing, and it felt so uncomfortable to me. I didn't want to have that experience again." Number 3. James Frey. Oprah Winfrey has long been seen as a champion of truth, authenticity, and emotional redemption. But in 2006, the media mogul found herself at the center of a literary scandal that tested those very values. And it all revolved around James Frey, the author of the wildly popular and now infamous memoir, A Million Little Pieces. In 2005, Oprah chose A Million Little Pieces for her influential book club, catapulting Frey's memoir to the top of bestseller lists. The book, a gritty, raw account of Frey's battle with drug addiction, criminal past, and rehabilitation, resonated deeply with readers. Oprah praised it as a gut-wrenching memoir that is raw and it's so real. Millions of fans picked up the book, inspired by what seemed like an unflinching portrayal of a man's fight to reclaim his life. But the illusion of truth shattered in January 2006, when the Smoking Gun published an explosive exposé revealing that key parts of Frey's story were fabricated. The report detailed how Frey exaggerated his criminal record, embellished jail time, and falsely claimed to have been a central figure in a tragic train car collision. For Oprah, the revelations felt personal. 2 weeks later, she brought Frey back onto the Oprah Winfrey Show in what became one of the most infamous interviews in daytime TV history. Sitting across from Frey, Oprah didn't hide her disappointment. "I feel duped," she told him bluntly. "More importantly, I feel that you betrayed millions of readers." Her tone was firm, almost prosecutorial, as she pressed Frey for answers about his lies and challenged his publisher for failing to fact-check the book before release. Frey, visibly uncomfortable, tried to explain himself. He admitted to embellishing roughly 15% of the memoir, saying he clung to a tough guy persona as a coping mechanism for his struggles with addiction. "Instead of being as introspective as I should have been, I clung to that image," he told Oprah. But he insisted that the heart of the book, his battle with drug and alcohol abuse, was true. "Nobody's disputing that I was a drug addict and an alcoholic," he said. "It's about the battle to overcome that." The damage, however, was done. Frey became one of the earliest examples of a public figure effectively canceled before that term was common. Readers returned the book in droves. His reputation was tarnished, and Oprah, despite her standing as America's moral compass, was criticized for how harshly she confronted Frey, with some accusing her of lacking compassion. Years later, in 2011, Oprah invited Frey back onto her show for a public reconciliation. Before the taping, she privately apologized to him for the tone she took during their previous exchange. On air, she explained, "My apology is not for what I said, it was for the way I said it. What people saw was my lack of compassion, so I apologize for my lack of compassion because I am in the business of trying to get people's stories and getting to the truth of those stories." Frey accepted the apology, and the two shared a hug. Yet for Frey, the hurt didn't entirely fade. Nearly 2 decades after the scandal, in a 2023 interview with the New York Times, Frey reignited the feud by accusing Oprah of brutal hypocrisy. He argued that Oprah, as a public figure, had told far more lies than he ever had. "She told more lies to the public times 1,000 than I ever have," he declared. He framed himself as a fighter, determined not to let Oprah's condemnation define him. "You might be the most influential lady in this world. You won't stop me. I will lower my head and I will walk forward and I'll keep throwing punches until I die. You can't stop me." Frey defended his fabrications by comparing memoir writing to art. When Rembrandt painted self-portraits, is he allowed to manipulate the paint to make himself look however he wants himself to look? He asked. He suggested that all memoirists, to some degree, shape their stories for effect. In his eyes, he was no different, except that he got caught. Oprah has not publicly responded to Frey's recent comments, and perhaps she doesn't need to. Number 4. MoNique. The tension between MoNique and Oprah began during the production and promotion of Precious, 2009, the film that earned MoNique an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. Oprah, along with Tyler Perry, was one of the film's high-profile producers. On screen, Precious was a triumph, but behind the scenes, it sowed seeds of bitterness. At the heart of the conflict was MoNique's refusal to participate in extensive international promotional appearances for the film without additional compensation. MoNique, who believed she had fulfilled her contractual obligations by delivering her performance, felt it was unfair to ask her to travel the world on her own dime. She later explained that she was standing up for what she felt was right, that as an actress, her job was to act, not to provide free publicity. However, Oprah and Tyler Perry reportedly disagreed. They saw the promotion of Precious as a collective effort, one that could uplift the film and its important message. For Oprah, who has long championed causes of social justice and empowerment, the film was bigger than any one person. But MoNique interpreted the pressure differently. She felt she was being singled out, labeled as difficult, and ultimately blackballed by Hollywood's elite. The tension deepened in 2010 when Oprah invited MoNique's estranged brother, Gerald Imes, onto the Oprah Winfrey Show. Imes appeared on the show and admitted to molesting MoNique when she was a child. "I abused and betrayed the trust of another sibling, my sister, my blood sister," he confessed, adding, "I'm sorry, MoNique. I'm sorry." For MoNique, the appearance was a betrayal. She felt Oprah exploited her trauma for ratings without her consent or consideration of how painful it would be to see her abuser on national television. This, in MoNique's eyes, was the moment Oprah crossed a line no one should cross. In the years that followed, MoNique became increasingly vocal about her anger toward Oprah. She accused the media mogul of hypocrisy and manipulation, claiming that Oprah's public persona of empathy and compassion masked a more calculating side. MoNique's resentment was clear during a 2022 comedy set on Cat Williams's tour, where she launched an expletive-laden tirade. "F! You Oprah Winfrey! F! You Tyler Perry!" she declared on stage, shocking audiences. MoNique even questioned Oprah's relationship with longtime friend Gayle King, adding fuel to the fire. "I'm too motherfing old to be scared of this beat. I'm too old to be intimidated by this beat. I'm too old to hold the motherfing truth," she raged. MoNique has suggested that Oprah, along with Perry, played a role in sidelining her career. According to the LA Times, MoNique's husband and manager, Sidney Hicks, told her that Oprah seemed annoyed that the crowd cheered louder for MoNique than for Oprah on Oscar night. Not long after, MoNique noticed that roles initially discussed with her were going to Oprah instead. While MoNique has made peace with Precious director Lee Daniels, reconciling after years of estrangement, the wounds with Oprah remain open. MoNique recounted in an interview that Daniels once asked her, "Why didn't you just shut up during all those years?" Her reply, "Had I shut up, you and I wouldn't be walking down this river." For MoNique, speaking her truth was, and still is, a non-negotiable. Oprah, for her part, has remained largely silent in recent years about the feud. During earlier interviews, she expressed regret that MoNique felt hurt but stood by her choices. She emphasized that inviting Gerald Imes onto her show was part of a broader conversation about abuse and healing, not an attack on MoNique. Number 5. Ludicrous. Not every guest has left the Oprah Winfrey Show feeling inspired. In fact, for rapper and actor Ludicrous, his appearance on Oprah's stage became the catalyst for a public feud. The story begins in October 2005. Ludicrous, already a chart-topping rapper and rising film star, appeared on The Oprah Winfrey Show alongside his Crash co-stars. The episode was meant to explore the film's themes of race, identity, and discrimination in America. But for Ludicrous, what should have been a celebration of the Oscar-winning project turned into a moment of discomfort and disillusionment. Oprah, well known for her complicated relationship with hip-hop, steered the conversation toward Ludacrous's music. She questioned his frequent use of the N-word and lyrics that she viewed as derogatory to women. What unfolded on air left Ludacrous feeling blindsided. In a later interview with GQ, Ludacrous opened up about how the experience felt from his perspective. "She edited out a lot of my comments while keeping her own in," he revealed. "Of course, it's her show, but we were doing a show on racial discrimination, and she gave me a hard time as a rapper when I came on there as an actor." For Ludacrous, it felt like Oprah wasn't focused on his performance in Crash or the larger issues the film explored. Instead, he believed she singled him out because of his career in rap, a form of artistic expression she seemed to view with skepticism. Adding to the tension, Ludacrous described what happened after the cameras stopped rolling. Oprah pulled him aside for a private conversation that lasted just a few minutes. According to Ludacrous, she explained that by inviting rappers onto her show, she believed she was empowering them. But Ludacrous left feeling alienated. "It was like being at someone's house who doesn't really want you there," he said. "It was already uncomfortable. The encounter left a lasting impression on Ludacrous, who felt he had been judged unfairly. He wasn't alone. Over the years, several rappers, including 50 Cent and Ice Cube, have expressed frustration with how Oprah engaged with hip-hop artists, accusing her of being dismissive or critical of their work without fully understanding the culture behind it. Oprah, for her part, defended her position. Speaking at L.A. Reid's 50th birthday party in 2006, she clarified that she had no problem with rap as a genre. "I'm not opposed to rap," she told MTV News. "I respect other people's rights to do whatever they want to do in music and art and whatever. I am my own person. They are their own people. I respect their rights." However, Oprah also made clear where her boundaries lay. "I am a woman who has worked very hard for my status in the world and as a human being," she said. "I don't want to be marginalized by music or any form of art. I feel rap is a form of expression, as is jazz. I'm not opposed to rap. I'm opposed to being marginalized as a woman." Despite the tension, Ludacrous kept the door open for reconciliation. In a 2006 interview with Entertainment Weekly, he said he was willing to have a one-on-one conversation with Oprah to clear the air. "We haven't talked, but I got an invite to her Legends Ball screening," he said. "I had a screening of Heart of the Game, so I wasn't able to make it, but hopefully we'll be able to talk one-on-one soon. I can't speak for anyone else, but I felt like I got treated wrong, and I just want her to know about it." Over time, that conversation finally happened, and the two were able to make peace. Ludacrous later confirmed that he and Oprah had settled their differences, bringing an end to one of the most visible feuds between the media mogul and a member of the hip-hop community. In the end, Oprah Winfrey's conflicts with artists like Ludacrous and others such as 50 Cent, MoNique, James Frey, and David Letterman show that even the world's most beloved media mogul has faced her share of public feuds. But now, we want to hear from you. Which of these 5 artists do you think had the most justified reason to feud with Oprah, and why? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this dive into Hollywood's most surprising rivalries, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more revealing content. Until next time, stay tuned.